I tell you what, they're terrified.
Wow, that's so good.
They're terrified that we won't cooperate anymore. It's a simple word. No, we're not doing it. We are not having it. A few people cannot control 8 billion. It's ridiculous.
Right.
The way it's done is that the 8 billion, or the great vast majority, obey what the few tell them. They get told what to do and they do it. And if we didn't, when you can see that it's actually about enslaving the population, it's enslaving our kids, it's destroying their future, we simply don't do it.
Over the past few years, it's become apparent, particularly to those seeking answers other than the crap we are fed daily by the mainstream media, that there are hidden, powerful forces controlling the world from the shadows and benefiting greatly from the chaos, confusion, and widespread disorderliness. Our cities have gone to the dogs with widespread looting, prevalent drug use, lots of empty offices and businesses, and other signs that something is desperately wrong with our systems. Yet, mainstream media only focuses on rosy headlines, projecting a very false sense of normalcy for those who do not bother to question the official narrative. But the hive mind era is over. People are beginning to question the narrative and voice out their criticisms against the madness that is the global elite class. You will own nothing and be happy? No, thank you very much. Keeping my possessions away from your thieving hands is the only thing that will make me happy and help me protect my loved ones against your diabolical fantasies. The planet is dying, and you must give up your farms and means of livelihood. Stop eating meat and using plastic straws. Of course, anything for Mother Earth as long as you give up your private jets, yachts, and oil fields too. After all, we should all be able to make sacrifices for the planet. And while we are still on that, please be informed that we will not be eating bugs, worm burgers, or drinking cockroach milk, because it's just plain nasty. The billions you have invested in these ventures should have been put to better use to make an actual difference. Every time they talk about these policies, plans, and goals, the global elites tell us exactly what they want for us all, and we must learn to fight back. According to David Icke, fighting back against these insane plans is as easy as saying an emphatic no and standing by our words together as a community and as a society. We must cast aside the labels they use to define and divide us and unite against the few who seek to subjugate us all forever. The popular speaker and author discusses these views in an interview with the Killah podcast, from which we will now present clips. Please watch to the end, like this video, and share the message with others. If you want more videos like this, please subscribe to the channel and turn on the notifications bell so you are instantly notified whenever we upload a video. We appreciate the support and hope you enjoy the video.
People who say the way to meet or beat the enemy is through fighting the enemy. Mm-hmm. The enemy, if you're looking at this non-human force, it wants you to fight it. It wants to fight. Because if I have this phrase I've been using for decades, what you fight, you become. If you look at history almost in its entirety, you see example after example where someone has come to challenge something and then has become that something. A lot of
movies. Yep.
Yeah, I remember talking to a police officer in London some years ago. Who's he was he's getting on in years, and he used to police. I remember them. They were in the 70s, as I recall. They used to be marches by a far right neo-fascist organization called the National Front, and then the anti-Nazi League used to march at the same time against the march of the other group. And this police officer said, "You know something," he said, if they didn't carry different banners and shout different things, I would never have known which was which. What you fight, you become. I tell you what, they're terrified.
Wow, that's so good.
They're terrified that we won't cooperate anymore. It's a simple word. No, we're not doing it. And if enough people say no, it's unenforceable. This is the whole point that people, I think, need to grasp because of what I talked about earlier, where from the earliest age, kids are indoctrinated into obey authority, fear authority. What's going to happen if authority doesn't like what you've done? People can get into this fear mode with regard to authority. But what the hell is authority? If you look at 8 billion people in the world, and you look at the number of people in full knowledge who are driving this agenda, it's absolutely tiny. It's tiny. If you go to the core of this global cult, you'd get them into a single room. And from that, those few people ultimately going out of the human world, but in the human world, ultimately that group are dictating the lives of 8 billion people. Now, purely mathematically, that should be impossible. A few people cannot control 8 billion. It's ridiculous.
Right.
The way it's done is that the 8 billion, or the great vast majority of them, obey what the few tell them. They get told what to do and they do it. And if we didn't, when you can see that it's actually about enslaving the population, it's enslaving our kids, it's destroying their future, we simply don't do it. You know, you've got all these, and you know, again, because it's globally coordinated, you see the same things happening everywhere about the same time, because it's coming from a central global point.
We are not having it. We are not going along with your plans, and we are not going to be complicit in our own enslavement. We are not going to easily dismiss every warning flag just because you say everything is well and good. We will ask questions, seek answers, and rebel against everything that feels unnatural. We will be more involved in deciding the fate of the world, not leave everything in the hands of psychopathic billionaire megalomaniacs interested in only benefiting themselves. We will no longer be complicit in our own dominance and subjugation by a few people ruling from the shadows. Everything must be in the open, and Icke believes we can achieve all this by being emphatic about our disagreement. Let's get back to the video.
You know, if you take the people who, in full knowledge, who are driving this, you take all the law enforcement and you take those numbers away from 8 billion, you're still looking at a tiny number of people. And this is how it works. And it's all a psychological game. If they can get your psychology, they get your perceptions, they get your behavior. So there's two types of people, this is never more important than today, that have been responsible for every tyranny in history. One group is that which just does what authority tells it without question. Do it. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You know best, sir. Yes, sir. I know my place, sir. Thank you, sir. And then you've got another group that doesn't want to do it. They maybe have a feeling there's something not right here. I really don't want to do this. But they do it anyway because they're frightened of not doing it. And that leaves the third group, which has ended every tyranny in history, which is the group that says, I can see what you're doing and I'm not cooperating with you. So when you tell me to do something that I can see as an ulterior motive that's bad for me and humanity, I'm not doing it. And, you know, I'll give you a quick example. The British government said outrageously that they should go to jail in totality for the rest of their lives. If only we would realize no is the most powerful word in the English language. If you say it and you mean it, no, not doing it, not having it, then the whole house of cards comes down, because we see the so-called, you know, hierarchy of control, but it literally is a house of cards. It's not a solid structure. It's a house of cards. And who's holding the cards together? We are, by our acquiescence to what the few at the top tell us. When we stop doing that, the game's over. And one other thing very quickly, when we stop allowing ourselves to be divided and ruled, when you realize that the true I is consciousness, The body is a vehicle for consciousness to experience this narrow band of frequency called the human world. But we are consciousness. You are a black man. I'm called a white man. We are expressions of the same consciousness. We are just having different experiences for a brief period called a human life. So what they are doing all the time is that they're saying, identify who you are by the labels of the human world. Identify the I as I am a man, I am a woman, I am this sexuality, that sexuality, I am this race, this income bracket, that income bracket, and so on. That's how you define yourself. No, all of the things that I've just said are experiences. They're not labels, they're not us, they're experiences that we're having. The true I is consciousness, an eternal state of awareness. And that's what leaves the body at the end of what we call a human life. Now, when you see that, you see judging someone by the color of their skin is childlike nonsense, but also to allow ourselves to be divided on the base of the color of the skin, or the basis, is also childlike nonsense. But this cult has to get us to see the world like that.
According to Icke, this global cult he has been warning us about is a network of secret societies that is so fiercely compartmentalized that only a few people know the full story about control, censorship, and the plans to enslave the entire human population by taking away our ability to think for ourselves. Icke believes there are plans to enforce a new global order, one that will be absolutely dystopian so the few can control and completely enslave the many, and the plans to achieve this are already in motion. Icke also warns about the dangers of artificial intelligence, the latest tool of control, with which he believes this secret network plans to subjugate the entire human race. According to Icke, this is the endgame, to put AI in charge of everything we read, watch, see, and learn, so that whoever controls AI can control the world. If all of these things happen, the world is going to become a dystopian nightmare, particularly for people who dare to question the narrative. This is why we must resist now, before it becomes much too late, by educating others about what's coming and ensuring that our communities are united against these evil plans. Only with a united voice can we begin to reject this dystopic new world order. Please share your thoughts on Icke's video in the comments section below. Also, ensure you like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on post notifications for more videos. Thanks for watching.